Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming to our panel today. We're so excited to be here with the amazing cast and crew of Disney TVA's newest show, The Ghost and Molly McGee, which is currently airing on Disney Channel and available to stream on Disney+. I'm so excited to be moderating today. My name is Emily Carson. I'm a manager in development at Disney TVA, and I had the honor of working on Molly McGee in development. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our amazing panelists today. We have Bill and Bob, who are the creators and executive producers of The Ghost of Molly McGee. Got Dana Schneider, who voices Scratch. Michaela Dietz, who voices Daryl McGee. Sumali Montano, who voices Sharon McGee and Grandma Nin. Michelle Park, who is our art director, and Kat Terada, who's our assistant art director. Thank you guys for being here. With that, we're going to jump right in. Bill and Bob, can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration of this show and what inspired Molly and Scratch's character and what makes their dynamic so unique?
It's funny, we've been carrying this idea around for years and years. And, you know, the initial spark of it was that scene in the very first episode where Molly and Scratch meet each other for the very first time. We turned it into our animation test. You were there for that, Emily. You know, and it was that moment where he puts the curse on her and she turns the curse back on him. We had that idea, you know, he realizes I didn't put a curse on Molly McGee. She put a curse on me. Like that was the very, you know, beginning kernel of it all. And we took it around from studio to studio, trying to find the right home for it. Thank goodness we finally found that place at Disney. You know, so it was a long run, but it wasn't until we really started developing it deeply with Disney that we realized, oh, these characters in a weird way are us. I'm an introvert, Bill's an extrovert. Bill's happy-go-lucky, I'm just happy to go home. You know what I mean? Once we made that connection, we're like, oh, you know, there's so much more here than we ever realized. It's the story of our friendship through a really weird lens of, you know, these two characters who are bonded together through friendship and perhaps a little bit of a curse. And
that's the way Bob has described it for years.
Yeah, it's 100%. And that's, you know, that's sort of where it all grew from. You know, then when Ashley and Dana came into it, they brought so much to the characters themselves. It took on a whole life of its own. It's been such a joy to just watch it grow and flourish.
You mentioned that you are an introvert and Bill is an extrovert. I know that's how Molly and Scratch are described too. And I'm wondering if we can share this little thing that you guys had made in development that I always thought was really interesting. But you had done a Myers-Briggs test for Molly and Scratch.
Yeah, we thought that would be fun to see how they would respond, and it might help us learn a little more about Molly. Not surprisingly, Molly is ENFP, which I am as well. I don't think Bob is actually INTP, but one of the things that's interesting was it's easy to think about, or I would say we were wanting to avoid that they be opposites. You know, we didn't want Molly to be one way and Scratch another way all the time. And
didn't want to do a show where two characters hate each other and are just bumping heads constantly.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be, well, let's get into some of the nuances. So there's actually, as you can even see here from the Myers-Briggs test, there is some commonalities, there is some connections, but there's also some very key differences that can create both comedy and conflict. And yeah, so I felt like if you look at the top side of Molly, you know, creative, expressive, perceptive, friendly, zest for life, energetic, those are all things you think about when you think about Molly McGee. And, Scratch, skeptical, critical, private, prefers solitude, you know, asks why, you know, a lot of those kinds of things are very clear in Scratch's personality. They kind of both hate kind of following rules somewhat. So that's, you know, a commonality that they have.
And that's where this process was really helpful, is finding the things they have in common. Things that Molly and Scratch can bond over, and still feel true to themselves.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, could you tell us a little bit about your journey from development to the show currently? What changed about the show, and what did you learn about that process, just moving from series greenlight to series premiere?
I mean, I think one of the things that we had done was we had decided that it was important to us that it be a biracial family, but we didn't know necessarily what that demographic, how that would look until we cast. And in our process, we found Ashley, who's just amazing. She and Dana's chemistry is phenomenal. And so when we found her, we asked if it would be okay if we leaned into her Thai heritage, and she said yes, thankfully. And that then opened up a whole other world of possibilities for us, and that helped build out our universe.
And the title change too.
The title change.
Development, we were the Curse of Molly McGee. Somewhere along the line, we changed to the Ghost in Molly McGee. We gave Scratch some close to equal billing with Molly. I think he deserved. And it felt a little more, we've always thought of this as a buddy comedy. Yeah. So putting the two buddies out there forward as opposed to a curse.
Right. Because their relationship evolves and grows beyond just the curse aspect. And we could have called it Scratch and Molly McGee, but then that sounded like a skin problem. So we just decided to stay with the Ghost.
Amazing. Well, Dana, Sumali, Michaela, I'm curious, what made you connect to each of your characters and drew you to this project?
Dana, you first.
What?
Yes.
I mean, what drew me to it? I mean, I got to audition. You don't get to pick, it's not like, you know what, I think I'm going to do this week. I decide I'll be Homer Simpson.
It doesn't work like
no,
that?
but I mean, well, I was certainly drawn to it because I had a great time with Bill and Bob. We did a show before this on, well, one before that, but I didn't know it. But but we did it on Disney. We did Lego Freemaker Adventures, Lego Star Wars, where, as everyone knows, I played Grabala the Hutt, the most famous of all the Hutts. But I mean, they're just great. They're great guys. I love it when they fight, which is all the time. They're always screaming at each other and yelling, and it's engaging. It reminds me of growing up in my home. But I mean, the characters are great. I mean, I just think I remember the first time I read the script and I was like, I just thought, I don't know what it is about this, but this seems very special, because you read a lot of stuff, see a lot of scripts. You're like, all right, okay. They're talking raccoons or whatever it is, and they are fighting over a sandwich. But I was like, I would watch this a lot if I was little. It'd be so cool to have a friend who's a ghost, who's not terrifying, who eats garbage. But just, I mean, the script was very funny, but it also absolutely dripped with heart and feelings and sweetness. And that's what I like about it so much. We can make a weird booger joke, but then the next moment it's very heartwarming. You can pick your nose and cry at the same time. And that's not always, a lot of things you can't do that in.
And sing a catchy tune to it.
That's right. All while there's underscore. Yeah. A dance number's going on in the background.
I feel like I have a new standard now for when I watch TV. Can I pick my nose and cry? I mean, just to piggyback on what Dana was saying, when I first read the sides, I remember thinking, oh gosh, this is so funny. The dialogue was so punchy. There was a lot of banter. And I remember reading and thinking okay, sure, I would watch this if I were a kid, but also as an adult, this is the kind of thing I would tune into and just, have a real nice laugh. Also, as a what appealed to me as a Korean American adoptee, the biracial family really spoke to me. Not just, I mean, the representation's a little different, but I could definitely kind of tap into, feeling like a sort of like you're in between cultures or worlds at times. So that was a really special draw for me.
And Michaela, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think you came in and read for Molly first, and we are like, that's not Molly.
I did.
But that is 100% Daryl.
Yeah.
Bring her back for Daryl, 100%.
I did. I remember I was actually traveling. I was like in Uruguay, and I got a text from my agent being like, so you're not the sister, but they want to know if you want to play their Molly's little brother. And I was like, yes. I remember I just, after one of the callbacks, I remember being way too effusive and telling both Bill and Bob like how much I love the show and I would literally do anything to be a part of it. And then I remember being like, play it cool. But maybe that was a good thing.
That
Jeff didn't play it cool.
That's similar for me. I think when I went into I guess it was a callback or, I mean, you're so excited and totally you're like, okay, play cool. But it's a brand new Disney cartoon. And like, like both of you guys said, the writing was phenomenal. I remember when I got the audition, I was actually shooting, I was actually filming an episode of something in Atlanta. So I was on the road, and oftentimes when I'm like filming, auditions will come in and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I got to be on set. I can't do that. But I remember reading it and I was like, oh yeah, exactly, Dana, what you said. This is different. I'm making time for this. And I like set up my blanket for it in the hotel closet. And I was like, I'm doing this audition because this is great.
Little did you know that's the way you would do the entire show.
Right. Yeah.
But now I built out my closet. It's like super, super nice now.
Super nice blanket for it.
Yes. But that was it. It was the writing. It was super funny. And for me, when I remember reading the mom sides, and it was just like, wow, this is so different. This mom is so like ultra concerned about, having enough money for the family. And she's super like almost competitive about getting a deal. Like, no, really competitive. I think in the original audition, it was something like I'm standing in line at the grocery store and I'm like digging through my purse, making sure I got all the coupons. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to save so much money. And I was like, wow, this is literally like me in real life. So I was like, okay, this is great. But you don't often get to see, I think like families and moms deal with such like real problems. And that's really important to me, like it was, and get to laugh about it. It's the whole like picking your nose and crying, like scraping around to like make, be able to pay the bills and being able to find something funny about it.
Economic representation. I mean, we wanted to do all sorts of representation on the show, but economic representation was something we wanted to do. We wanted to do a family that, ends didn't always easily meet for them. And, we thought that was something that would be unique to bring to the audience, and hopefully relatable. And, we're always saying to our writers, we can tackle any subject. We just got to find our funny way into it. And, that's the challenge with the show.
Love that. I just real quick want to talk about the design for a second, especially Michelle and Kat. I'm really curious what attracted you to the show from a design point of view.
Sure.
Go ahead, Kat.
Oh, okay. Well, I started on as a background designer. So from that point of view, I've never worked on a show that looked like this. It was heavily inspired by kidlit illustration, a lot of charm, and it really just pushed me as an artist. Like I feel like I really grew on this show. Yeah, all of my previous work has been completely different in every way.
And I will say real quickly that the town of Brighton itself that they live in, it's another character. It's another part. So the design work that Kat and Michelle have been doing is illuminating an actual other character of the show, which is the town.
Yeah, and I'm an opposite of Kat, where I'm a very background paint oriented person. I've been working as a background painter and paint supervisor for almost all my career. And it's funny because in the beginning I was was only going to do freelance for the show.
Ah.
And while I was working on my freelance, I got another email saying, would you be interested in art directing position? So that whole test felt like, that whole freelance felt like a test for me. So I had to kind of like master and study all like this whole show style during my freelance. And then I discovered that like it's very complex background with like many different textures, variety of colors and things like that. And it really attracted me. It gave me a challenge. So, a little bit of challenges, can be more fun sometimes. So yeah, that really drawn to me to the show. And just the characters were super appealing to me. The fun variety, every character looks different, and just fun colors.
Yeah, and overall, it's just a very charming looking town. Very, very lived in, which, is super fun.
Like a very comfortable sofa.
It's a very old sofa.
Yeah.
A well-worn but well-loved.
Yeah.
We've told everybody on the crew, like, we want Brighton to look beat up. Like, no fancy cars without rust spots on them or, dirt. Nobody's freshly washed their car in Brighton. It should all look a little beat up, a little used, a little worse for the wear.
The road should be repaved.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Galaxy's Edge is what Bob said.
That's exactly what
Well
Galaxy's
used.
Edge.
That's right.
The Disney panel, we gotta get a little shout outs to some of the other, tentacles of the company.
Actually, I did want to hear more about the town of Brighton and the McGee's house specifically. There's this theme of enhappifying throughout the entire show, and I know it's both ingrained in the story and also the design. So Bill, Bob, Kat, Michelle, I'd love to hear more about just the town of Brighton and how it changes.
Yeah, well, it's inspired, Brighton's inspired by my hometown of Rock Island, Illinois, and also Towanda, Pennsylvania, right?
Towanda, Pennsylvania.
And also Cedar Falls, Iowa. And part of it is I wanted it to have a really authentic Midwest feeling. And so working with Drake Brodel and Wendy Park, who were our art directors for development and in season 1, we kind of talked about a whole language of representing how the house would look, sort of the philosophy in that, or elements of the city. Everything's a little skewed, a little cockeyed. And and development, just so people know, I mean, what were we, 2 years in development on the show? I think so.
Yeah.
You do a lot of exploration and seeing what what sort of works in harmony with all these elements. And anyway, so the town has some direct inspiration. There are real places. There's some of the houses in Brighton are direct lifts from houses in my hometown. There are key locations in the show, like the band shell and the Historic Society, that are absolutely from Cedar Falls, Iowa. And if we pull up. So there on the left is the real band shell in Cedar Falls. I took that picture when visiting my in-laws, and here's the version that we recreated from it.
Have you heard from anybody in Cedar Falls about?
Disappointingly, no, I haven't.
The lawyers.
Yeah, except for the lawyers. Cease and desist.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the slogans we came up with for the show is "The Ghost in Molly McGee is the story of a ghost and the girl who brings him back to life." And that sort of sums up kind of what we thought the show was about. It's about resurrection. It's about Molly teaching Scratch to live again. But that also spreads out into Brighton as well. That Brighton is, when Molly arrives, a town that's on its deathbed. And her mere presence and her actions are bringing Brighton to life. And we'll see more and more of that as the show progresses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also reflected in Molly's bedroom too. Before the McGees moved in, the attic is pretty sad and cold and dreary looking. So it kind of ties in the whole theme of resurrection and inhabification. And so when Molly
Yeah.
moves in, yeah, we have an image.
We have an image to show.
Yeah. So, you know, her bedroom kind of, it's the essence of inhabification and everything Molly brings to Brighton. Michelle, if you want to talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so as you can see, it looks pretty empty before Molly moves in, and we thought this was the best example of showing that in Molly and Happifying, where not just the design elements, but like the colors and the more props are added. So it just brings that like more vibrance and mood to the story. Like and we try to tell that visually. Like both in designs and colors and all the actings and stuff like that.
Yeah, and her bedroom also reflects, like it has the tie umbrellas and that like banner on the left, which is like inspired by her Irish heritage. And it kind of, her room is just very Molly. Like it's not super organized or clean. She's just like all over the place.
Even.
Yeah, like there's socks on the ground that's been there for like a
The
year.
whole show.
Like it never gets washed. But
yeah, and then
it's a very happy space.
And you can kind of see that in like bunch of props too. Like, she loves to decorate. So a lot of her props are not the most fanciest or the newest, like her bicycle, or for example, but you can always find her part of it where it's all decorated. Either it's the stickers or she gets crafty sometimes and things like that.
Even things like the lamp on the table in the background, it's skewed, right? I often want to just like straighten it. It's always a little skewed.
She like bumped into it, never fixed it, doesn't bother her.
But the research, by the way, that goes into so many of these things, I mean, that is the Irish McGee tartan. That is the correct tartan for her heritage on that side of the family. And and then little things like the dollhouse, of course, which has become a very big component of the show, and finding the connection in her Thai culture with Sanpropun and the little ghost houses. A lot of that was just fun to watch kind of come together as we discovered how to express Molly in her physical locations as well.
I love it. I love all of the personal inspirations and influences you guys are talking about, especially in the storytelling and designs. I'm curious, Dana, Sumali, and Michaela, are there any personal inspirations or influences for your characters?
I eat a lot of garbage.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's
Yeah.
nice that they've also been able to fold that in, and that I'm lazy and eat garbage.
Really aspirational.
Yes. This is filled with used cooking oil right now. That's what I need.
I'm doing a home renovation right now, and man, I wish I had half the resourcefulness and like negotiation skills that Daryl has. But for me, a lot of his just the way he talks and sounds, that's to me a lot of my nephew's influence.
Thank him.
Funny, kind of precocious kids, yeah.
Smiley, you're muted.
For me, for mom, I feel like it's really so much my own mom. She, she was a single mother. We did not grow up with a lot of money. And, there would be times we'd be like literally sitting in the basement, and I like, there was a sale on 99-cent frozen dinners at the grocery store. And we would be like sitting in our basement, and I had no clue that we didn't have money. Like we didn't, like she made it seem normal and fun. And we would go down the basement and sit on stools and turn on the TV, and like it would be so cool. I'm like, all right, we got Salisbury steak tonight, like the frozen, and she would just, which I think is kind of a little bit like Sharon. I mean, Sharon will go off and be like, oh my gosh, we don't have enough money. But, at the end of the day, I think that her positivity also affects her character. So it's my mom. And on the Thai side for Grandma Nin, I will say my Thai aunt is kind of my inspiration for her because one of my Thai aunts is so sweet. And on the surface, she's just like lovely. She's a beautiful, sweet voice, but you can see that like mischievous twinkle in her eye, and you don't like mess with her. Like, but on the surface, she's like, "Pu pasat Thai daไหมคะ?" and like super sweet and everything. And then underneath is like, "Oh, don't mess with Auntie Chi."
The cold-blooded killer. That's definitely Nin.
That's awesome. Actually, I wanted to kind of going back to a question I asked earlier about the differences between development and current. I remember when we were doing testing, there was a big response from kids that they wanted the family to be involved more. I know Bill and Bob, you wanted to talk about just that, the change in the story as we got results back from kids.
Well, we always knew the family was going to be a big part of it. There was I'm sure you remember this, Emily. There was a version where we tried to shoehorn the family into the pilot. The pilot, for those of you who watched the show, is the softball episode, The Unnatural. And there was a whole storyline going on with Daryl and Mom and Dad, and it was just too much. It kind of collapsed under its own weight. Once we stripped that out, we realized, okay, there's the show. It's Molly and Scratch. But we always knew like those characters were characters we wanted to explore, and we wanted the family to be a big, important part of the show. It's just didn't fit in the pilot. So, it's been such a joy to, explore these characters. Sumali Michaela brings so much to Mom and Nin and Daryl. Jordan Klepper as Dad brings so much. It's been great to just kind of see the family flourish.
And then the other aspect of it too is you initially start off writing what you think these characters are going to be, and then our actors come in and literally bring them to life. And so now we're like, oh, Somali does this great thing. We need to incorporate that more. And oh, Michaela's hilarious when she does this and this. And, and one of the things that we discovered fairly early on was it made me laugh so hard when Dana and Ashley are kind of talking over each other. There's in the Tug Bottom episode, the Monumental Disaster, there's a bit where Molly's kind of melting down when she realizes, oh, this guy I've been idolizing isn't what I thought he would be. And Scratch is looking at the stopwatch saying, wow, it took me way longer to prove I was right than I expected. And they're kind of talking over each other the whole time. And it just made me laugh really hard. And so we try to incorporate as much of their kind of talking over each other and at each other as much as we can. And it just brought a certain characteristic and dynamic to life.
We like to, our philosophy is be collaborative. Like, let everybody who's working on the show in any capacity bring their thoughts and ideas to the show and make the show better for it. Some people are visionaries and know exactly what every line should be read like, what every brush stroke should look like. That's not us.
We're far too lazy for that.
Far too lazy and untalented to be a visionary. We like being people who say, hey, come on into this tent, we're going to make a show together, and it's going to be all of our
I
show.
feel like that's the beauty of animation. I mean, everybody adds so much to it, and any one part is everybody pluses it along the way.
Yep.
And everybody has their own little, like, on my little, here's my little cubby hole, but I did this in there that no one will notice but me. And then the next person like, but I did this and no one will.
I'm telling you, use the pause button when you watch these episodes. Our prop designers and our background designers stick in so many little jokes, just tiny little pieces of text that if you're not aware they're there, they're going to fly right past you. So little use of the pause button.
Yeah, I mean, we, every week we review hundreds of pieces of art, and we're dumbfounded how often we see some just piece of pure inspiration in it might be just a prop or a background or like Kat has done some, I can't talk about it because spoilers, but Kat's done some designs lately where just some unbelievable genius little touches in there. You'll see them later. Michelle, there's an episode coming up in a couple weeks on the 27th that just knocked it out of the park with some incredible lush, I don't want to spoil it, but I remember it took my breath away when I saw it the first time. And so allowing, these incredibly talented people to bring themselves and their perspectives to the show, it just makes the whole thing a richer experience.
And we should mention the wonderfully talented people up at Mercury Animation. They bring so much to the table too, with little flourishes in the animation that are just gorgeous and bring so much life and reality to it all.
Oh, Emily, and by the way, we should also talk about Andrea Davenport, because I think that was one of the characters that kind of went through a bigger transformation from development to series.
She was a simple mean girl when we were in development, and the reaction we got from kids is, we've seen that 1,000 times. You got to give us
that's kind of boring. In fact, so in the pilot, Andrea was what is now the Tammy Myers character. She was sort of the antagonist.
And the pilot was The Unnatural, the softball episode.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And, and that was the feedback that we got from kids. Of like, that's a flat character. That's
blonde-haired, blue-eyed,
nuance.
They've seen it 1,000 times. Yeah. So we had to dive into Andrea and find new parts to her that were more interesting and richer. Right. And Andrea's going to go through an evolution in the show that'll be fun to watch.
Yes. So, yeah. That's the other thing.
Turns into a frog.
Turns into a frog. Hey, spoilers, Dana.
Spoiler alert. Or does she?
That's maybe not a frog.
Maybe it's not a frog.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's fun, and part of it, we are way in production on our second season at this point. So one of the things that's kind of fun for us is we kind of know where things are going for a while, and it's fun to watch it unfold as episodes get released. Fun to watch people say, "Oh, I think this is going to happen." No, maybe it is. So,
are there any highlights or surprises from fan reactions that all of you have seen so far?
Yeah, you know what?
Go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the things I really appreciate about fan reaction, I think people they get the spirit of the show. They get what we're trying to say and how we're trying to do it. Someone online posted a YouTube video that said something about, Molly isn't just this wild-eyed optimist because that's just the way she is. She has actually experienced a lot of difficulty in her life. She chooses to see hope and chooses to try to be optimistic. And in those moments in the show where her efforts, which sometimes can get pretty extreme, of trying to keep that energy up, when she does collapse and feels like she has failed, Scratch, who normally would be kind of like, yes, perfect, misery numbers are up, this is fantastic, has enough connection with her now that he will step in and try to assist, like in the greatest concert ever. And I think that getting that hopefulness, and wanting to make the world a better place, and watching the McGee family struggle, it's not Pollyanna for sure in terms of it, and it doesn't come easy. But the choices they make to try to be the people in the world that they would hope that they are, I guess. Anyway, I like how fans have embraced that.
I'm bowled over.
That's what's interesting about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bowled over by the sheer amounts of fan art out there. Like, I scroll through Twitter every day going, and some of it is, crude, and some of it is so amazing and incredibly talented. And I love every last piece I've seen. It's all just such gorgeous work, and I love seeing people pour their hearts into our characters. Thank you for everybody out there. I love that stuff. And we talked about, when we were still in the office, about sort of wallpapering one of the walls in the writer's room with fan art. And it's like, we could have done the entire room 4 or 5 times over at this point.
Yeah. And then stupid pandemic, we don't even have a room anymore.
It's just your office.
You can paper your own house with that, Bob.
That's true. I can. Let me talk to my wife and see how she feels about it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Surprise her. I bet she'll love it.
Awesome. Well, we have quite a few audience questions. If you guys want to turn it over to a little Q&A.
Let's go.
All right.
If
Here
we
we
were in person, we would hand the microphone to somebody, but instead we have our wonderful Zoom chat.
This
So
is more of a comment than a question. There, we got that out of the way. That's
no, I get to filter the questions. That's what I get to do. All right. So first question.
Yes, I am taller than Bob.
Bill's taller.
It's true. It's true.
Right,
Can I
sorry.
tell a really funny story, actually? So when
Please.
we first started in development, when I first started on Molly McGee, we were working with like a lot of other shows in development, and everyone just kept saying Bill and Bob, Bill and Bob, Bill and Bob, but I was never introduced to Bill individually and Bob individually. It was just like Bill and Bob as like a unit, and I was like too embarrassed to ask which one was Bill and which one was Bob at a certain point. And I remember
You didn't know until today, did you?
the name tag's the only thing that's helping me here. But I remember talking to our production manager, Ivan, at the time, and I was like, I'm too deep. I don't know the difference. And she was like, oh, I figured it out. Bill is taller and there's L's in Bill, and that's how you know it's Bill. And I was like, great. So that's how I still remember you guys. If I ever forget. Like
Thank
Bill.
you, Ivis.
Thank you, Ivis.
What do you do in like Zoom days? 'Cause, someone
yeah.
could have a real long torso, and then you're just
You
Yeah,
wouldn't,
you're just,
you wouldn't
you
know.
just don't know. Yeah.
It's a crapshoot, really.
I mean, look, the craziest thing is, like, Bob and I have never met in actual three-dimensional space. Michelle. It's only been over
It's
Zoom.
true.
So I have no idea.
I
Like,
have no idea how.
yeah,
where
Michelle could be
is on
5
the
foot
height
tall
scale.
or 7. I have no idea.
She might be imaginary at this point.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not real.
It could be a CG
Computer
creation.
generated AI.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Doing
I
wonderful things with Muppets these days. So
Anyway, were there some questions, Emily, you would like to ask?
Yeah. All right. So somebody asked, they were curious if there was a specific story or personal reason why Molly and her family are biracial. And I think you spoke to it a little bit, but just in case there was anything else.
yeah, it came out of when we started the show. We're like, Molly could be anybody. Molly could. We did not have a picture in our head of exactly who Molly was, and the decision was always we were going to find somebody who embodied sort of the spirit of what we were looking for, and we would build the show around that person, whatever their ethnicity would be. So we found Ashley, thank God. And she brought so much to it. And Ashley is half white, half Thai. And so, again, I think Bill already said this. We asked her, hey, would you be cool if we explored that part of, you in the show? She thankfully was super enthusiastic at the idea. And, she's just the other day, she sent us an idea like, hey guys, what if we did an episode about this aspect of Thai culture? And it's like, yep, putting it on the list. We're doing that one too.
Amazing.
So it's brought such richness to it. Yeah, that's how Molly wound up half white, half Thai.
And wasn't it, this is a fun fact, wasn't it Ashley was in a writer's room on the project before she was.
Yeah.
The first time we met Ashley, she came in to give reactions, give like quick little notes on the script. And she had really good, fun ideas.
And talk about the character and how, to grow the character.
And as she was leaving the room, Daniel Weinman, who was our first development executive, now over at Nickelodeon, miss you, Daniel. He said, she also does voices. And we're like, oh,
Really?
interesting. Get her in the booth right away. So we got her in the booth, and she knocked her socks off, and we were all ready to cast her. And then we were told, oh no, she's tied up with another pilot at Disney and you can't have her.
Right.
So we went on a long search for other people.
And found some very talented people.
Yeah, very talented people, but nobody who was quite filling the bill.
Yeah.
And then that other pilot fell apart, and we snatched Ashley as quick as we could.
Yeah.
Mysteriously fell
explorations.
apart.
Yeah, there were explorations with every actor
Mhm.
that we considered too. So that was, it's like I said, 2 years of development. It's been a journey. Yeah. But Ashley was who we wanted right off the bat, and we
Our
were like,
North Star from the beginning.
yeah, and so we were thrilled it worked out that we actually got our first pick.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Journey.
yeah.
Let me see. There's some good questions here. What are your favorite dynamics or relationships besides Molly and Scratch?
Well, I'm not going to say it just because you guys are here, but I love the mom Daryl scenes. Like they're like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty. two rivals of
Which one am I?
impressive intellect, and it's a constant, cat and mouse game of Daryl trying to get away with stuff and mom being one step ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's more similarity between those two than maybe they either wants to admit it offhand, but
Oh God,
I
sorry.
love that.
I also like Daryl and Dad though. Like when they start showing like a hive mind of like trying to break through that little door, but they both have their own compartments. They're like, no, it's not this, it's this. But then but we're both going to be morons about how we're going to get through it, but for slightly different reasons. Morons in a nurturing, caring way. Don't twist my words, Michaela, please. I love that. I love the two of them. Yeah, that's right.
Me too.
I mean, I think for me, Libby is such an amazing character. I love that relationship, her friendship with Molly. And
shout out to Laura Jill Miller for bringing
yes,
so much
it's just
to
brilliant. And but I have to say, one of those little things that we sort of stumbled into and played into, and that Mom and Pete have their own history, their own dynamics. It keeps like we keep checking in, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. I did not. But one of the things that I think is also really funny is that Mom has this whole backstory that even Dad doesn't know about necessarily. So, like in The Greatest Concert Ever, when you're talking about, being left in the rain with guitar, a suitcase full of broken dreams, and don't trust a musician, and Dad's like,
I love that. I love that scene so much. And then I love how it was animated, and Mom's arm just like, don't do it. Like it's like the like sweep across with the single arm, and then the button at the end with Pete being like, okay. Like,
yeah, so I just find that fun, and there is going to be more of that
to come further down the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love my relationship with both my characters too. Mom and Grandma Nin. I love their dynamic.
Bob and I talked about this recently. We often forget, especially when we're looking at animatics, and we forget they are played by the same person. You bring them both so uniquely to life that I'm just watching like, that's Nin, that's Mom, and then like every once in a while I have to be like, oh right, that's the same actor.
Meanwhile, I'm at home going, did they sound different enough? Are you sure they sounded different? Like to my husband, I'm like, they sounded different, right?
Absolutely. You're giving Dan Castellaneta a run for his money.
Yeah.
You're so sweet.
What is everybody's favorite joke or line from the series that they've done so far? No spoilers.
I don't know about a joke or a line, but I just like any reference that Molly makes to baby corn.
Sweet baby corn, yes.
I actually made baby corn the other day. I was texting with Somali about baby corn.
Wait, did you grow up eating baby corn as much as I did? Or no?
I don't know. Did you eat a lot of baby corn?
Oh my gosh, we had in our basement. We my mom would always say like she's a war baby, and so she like always like stockpiled everything like just because she wanted. Oh my gosh, and we would have cans of water chestnuts and sweet baby corn. It wasn't sweet, maybe it wasn't on the can, but like. Right. And so literally when I saw you making it, I was like, oh my gosh. And it would always be like my mom going like, okay, go down to the basement, get me 2 cans of baby corn, a can of water chestnuts, and some, rice noodles.
And the sweet baby corn thing too is very funny because a lot of times in development, they're like, okay, did the characters have any catchphrases, and somehow we're playing, and that one came up and I was like, sweet baby corn, like whatever. So then we just gave Scratch and other people that whole commentary of like, that doesn't work. Like, what are you, what are you thinking?
It totally works for me.
Yeah. Like, you're trying really hard, Molly. That's not.
It works.
It's not natural. Yeah. Anyway.
And then Happify. That's
Yeah, and
that's
Happify.
such-
That one.
Happify is, what the show is all about. So maybe that'd be my answer.
Yeah.
Which she still plugs. She's fighting to get her catchphrases, both of those. Because
Yeah.
everyone comments constantly, that's not a word, but she is never going to listen to that.
Yeah.
She will
not be
drive that
discouraged.
thing.
It's Molly branding. She's,
It's part of her beauty. That's
vision.
right.
Yeah.
Does Scratch have a catchphrase? And do we need to
Uh,
make one? Because
No. I think that's his catchphrase. No.
Oh,
It's a word. Leave
that's
me
my brand,
alone.
Molly.
Yes,
No.
that's right.
it's amazing. All right. Wow, we got a lot of questions. Oh, this is kind of a good one. Okay. What was the hardest thing that you had to leave out from development into the show now?
I don't know if it's the hardest thing, but at one point Molly had a little sister as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Daryl, it was going to be a twin, and there was going to be a little sister.
Could have been a twin.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and
Sorry,
then we were like,
Michaela.
you know what? The twin sister was winding up doing all the things we wanted to see Molly do, like get Daryl out of trouble, and it felt like a redundant character. So, little sister was thrown overboard and never seen again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The
So dark.
It is a subtle little design thing, by the way, that in Daryl's design, he's wearing an orange hoodie, which is foreshadowing maybe of.
An orange jumpsuit in his future. It's
No. Oh my
Daryl
gosh.
can go one of two
Come on.
ways. He's either going to be president of the United
No.
States, or he's going to be serving time
Yeah,
somewhere.
maybe it'll be.
But he's like he'd be an amazing jail time lawyer.
He really,
Yeah.
he
You know,
really
he's
would.
like
Yeah.
helping everyone with their cases,
Yeah.
trying to get them out. He's wheeling and
Oh my
dealing.
gosh.
Yeah.
So the recommendation you gave to mom about in that Gig Pig episode where you're like, I know a lawyer that was with questionable morals or something like that. That was you. It's you.
Yeah,
Yes.
but Daryl's gonna grow up and be an amazing human being. I'm certain of it.
Well,
But,
the thing we've always had to explain to everybody about Daryl is Daryl's not mean. He's not
Or evil.
He
Mhm.
just doesn't. The wires don't quite connect in the right way in Daryl's head. But everything he does, he thinks he's doing to make things better for everybody. It's going to be great. If
He's
he,
a problem solver.
the problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like
When
Daryl
he
really
sends the
doesn't
teachers
get.
to jail.
yeah.
He thinks he's doing the right thing. Like everybody's
Yeah.
going to love it. We're going to get rid of
That
the
works.
minimal teachers, and we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
We take care of the rat problem by introducing mice to the building.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I think we got time for at least one or two more questions. Is there anything you can tease about upcoming episodes or what's to come?
They will be in color.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you tease.
Coming up very soon, Molly has to make a big decision about how honest she is with Libby via Scratch. Like,
Mhm.
is she going to let
Yeah.
Libby in on the secret of Scratch, or is she going to keep it to herself? These for, I think, this weekend's episode, maybe next weekend's. It's real fast coming up, so
And then
And also, they all turn into frogs.
they all turn into frogs. Everybody
Going back
turns
to
into frogs.
Anna, that's
Spoiler
season
alert.
2, man. That's season
Oh,
2.
wait, that's amphibia. Never mind. I'm thinking of the wrong one.
No, it's this.
I thought you were working for Big Frog and you were like getting a
Forget it.
kickback by all
Yes,
this.
I am working for Big Frog.
Oh,
Yes.
I just wasn't sure.
I'm a
Dave.
frog lobbyist, amphibiologist.
We have an episode coming up, a Hanukkah and a Christmas episode, Festival of Lights and Saving Christmas. I am incredibly proud of those episodes. And I don't want to spoil it other than to say we all, I think, creating it, realized potentialities that could be very impactful. I'm being vague, I'm sorry. And
You
then
know it when you see it, guys.
yes, and everyone stepped up, you know, writing and boarding and directing and the score and the music and the art direction. And again, that's Michelle jumped in both feet into that episode. And anyway, I am just incredibly proud of that one. So make sure you use your VCR, whatever recording. No, I'm just but just watch on the 27th. Anyway, I just think that's a great one.
Record it on your phone, film the TV, and then you can watch it for your friends.
All right. What is everybody's favorite song in the show that?
Oh, that's cruel, Emily. Come on.
Boy, that's a tough one.
That's a
I
tough
will
one.
call it
Thing,
people
like,
on random. I will call
Animation
it.
takes a
Well,
really long time, and we've heard a bunch of songs that the public has no
Yeah,
clue
that's-
about.
Right.
That is a
Ordinary
tough one.
Guy, someone in
Yeah,
the chat.
absolutely, yeah.
Ordinary Guy,
Um,
was amazing. The Atomic Pink song I love.
I
Yeah.
find myself humming my best friend's bar mitzvah song more than a grown man should.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a-
Like
I'm
I'm
that's
at the
great
grocery
one.
store. People look at me like I'm an idiot. I'm grabbing spaghetti. Hey.
Yeah.
I hum gigging for a living as I'm like going about my day working.
Uh,
I think the bat mitzvah song is my favorite out of the ones that are aired already.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was just so crazy.
Yeah,
Yes,
both
I mean,
both the
Obstruction
song and the
Beastie Boys
visuals
song,
too.
man.
What was
The
that?
theme
Bob?
song is also an earwig of the highest caliber. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
Totally.
Sometimes I hear
when
it at
my-
night in bed. Well, that's why I
Yeah.
sleep.
in your nightmares, right? Tomorrow, cat, back to the old drawing board.
It's Monday again.
No. Right.
Yeah,
Rob
yeah.
is just so talented. I feel like it doesn't matter what song it is. Any demo I hear, I'm like, this guy is incredible.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
Rob
Really-
Cantor.
Yeah.
He really knows how to kind of like musically sum up a feeling, you know?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
every genre we throw at him, he's like, "Yep, I got that." And
Yeah, he's
Right
like a
around.
musical chameleon. He can
Yeah.
get right into it and make it sound authentic in the style it is, not like somebody who's doing an imitation of it.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It sounds like that from the bones out, not just, oh, I put a country harmonica over the top of this, but it's still my rock and roll style, but
Yeah,
with a
it's
country harmonica.
legit. Yeah.
It is legit.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
You Believe is still stuck in my head. For
If You Believe.
ever and ever.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah.
Oh, that's so
And then
good.
throwing in the Enchita level.
Yes.
Oh man. Well,
And cheat.
it looks like we're just about out of time. I want to thank all of you.
You know what? We're gonna do another hour. Everybody, stick around.
You know what? Whatever else you're
Let's
doing,
keep
yeah,
going.
we're just
I guess we're not. Okay,
We'll just
sorry.
hang out.
Emily's giving us the
If I had a cane, I would like pull you off of it, but we're on Zoom. It doesn't work.
It'd have to be
thank
super
you-
long to reach Bob's house.
all the way to Burbank. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you everybody for listening and giving us great questions. Again, The Ghost of Molly McGee is airing on Disney Channel and is available to stream on Disney Plus. So if you haven't watched it yet, get on that. It's excellent. Also, now you know a whole lot about a show you probably haven't watched yet. So, and if you are attending CTN this whole weekend, this is a self-plug. Today at 4:00, I will be doing a presentation about developing at Disney TVA. Talk a little bit about development here. We'll talk a little bit about it more then with Kitty Walsh from Disney Junior. And then Kat and Michelle on Friday at 2:00 will be joined by lead character designer Justin Rodriguez to talk more about the art of Molly McGee.
Gonna be great, guys. Don't want to miss that.
Definitely don't want to miss that. Definitely don't want to miss
It's gonna
that.
be your art of
And
book
this-
in Zoom form.
That's right.
Dana, were you gonna?
Oh, I was just gonna say that one today's totally live, right? And right in person. So anything
I
that
will
happens.
definitely be wearing the same outfit, and it won't have been
Yep.
recorded at a previous time. It is
Right.
pre-recorded, but we are coming on live for a Q&A, so you'll see me in this outfit again. I did my makeup once today. It ended up working out. So
I've ruined.
Oh man, oh man. All right,
Fired.
thank you everybody so much.
Thank
Please
you,
keep
Emily.
watching Ghost from Molly McGee and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
I said
Thank you,
thank you
Emily.
everyone for attending today. It means
Even
a lot. to us.
happified us just by being here.
Yep.
It's nice
Thank
to
you.
see all you guys. Kat, Michelle, Simile, Michaela,
Thank you.
Emily.
Thank you.
Same.
Nice to see you
Thank
guys
you.
too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Emily.
Bye.
Bye.